joining us now to talk more about the conflict is author of the book Total Empire, retired U.S. General Anthony Tata. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Great to be with you, Natasha.
We just heard Robert Sherman's reporting that Hezbollah is prepared to go, quote, all in. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Well, Natasha, I really think Hezbollah is doing Iran's bidding, and their whole purpose right now is to fix, that's a military term, Israeli forces in the north to prevent them from massing in the south. So they have to be a credible threat with skirmishes and probing attacks along in the Golan Heights there. And I've been there. It's formidable terrain, and it's an information war. Doubly. It's what Hezbollah is trying to do is threaten Israel and the United States with a lot of bluster. But I would be surprised if they try to do anything with significant force across the northern Israeli border into the Golan. The IDF is very, very capable, and I would be very surprised.
At this point, do you think this could be the beginning of a larger escalation? And if so, how would you expect the U.S. to respond?
Natasha, I hope that it's not a larger escalation. I do believe that Israel needs to finish the task of destroying Hamas. That Hamas asked for this fight, and they've got it. And we should back off and let Israel prosecute it to the fullest extent. This is not something that we should be meddling in. We should let Israel do the job. And our task, Natasha, is to help Israel do that job by giving them the strategic breathing room, by getting Iran off their back, having the carrier strike force in the Persian Gulf that's headed there, and telling Iran, look, back off. You're the big sponsor of terror in this region with Hezbollah and Hamas and Shia militia groups in Iraq and Syria, Houthi rebels in Yemen. You're destabilizing the region. Stop it.
You know, Hezbollah was classified a terrorist group by the U.S. in 1997, and we know by 2009 the group's manifesto said that it was open to democratic process, but that same manifesto also said that it wanted to destroy Israel. You know, Hezbollah being a terror group or a militant group, does that classification really matter, or what does every American need to know about Hezbollah?
Natasha, it matters as far as U.S. policy is concerned. Being a designated terrorist group gives the president certain authorities that they might not otherwise have. So if Hezbollah chooses to involve itself in the war against Israel, then the United States would have certain authorizations that they might not otherwise have to assist Israel militarily. I certainly hope it doesn't come to that. But that's the significance of the state sponsor of terror designation.
I appreciate that. And, you know, these cells, Hamas, Hezbollah, I want to pick up on something you were saying earlier. How much of their talking and their threats do you think are truly their own, or is this all from Iran?
Well, I think it's primarily from Iran. I think Iran is telling everybody what to do in that region. And certainly Iran has the land bridge into Lebanon, into Syria, to supply the Shia militia groups that are attacking our troops in the area. It's 20-some attacks so far in the last couple of weeks. And then the Houthi rebels certainly are acting at the behest of Iran. In Gaza there, Hamas certainly supplied by Iran in many cases. So they control the region, and this is all Iranian-backed.
Okay. Retired U.S. General Anthony Tata, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.